Okay, got it.
Hello,
Okay.
this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com, where music comes to life. And my guest today is true rock and roll lifer. You probably first heard him with the great 70s band New England. He's also a founding member of the band Alcatrazz and was part of the short lived, should have been supergroup Blackthorne. Now, Hard Rockers Blackthorne came out in the height of grunge, so their amazing debut, Afterlife, kind of went undiscovered, and its follow up, Don't Kill the Thrill, was unreleased for decades. But that's all changing now with a new release that combines both records and a host of unreleased material. To talk about all of it, please welcome keyboardist Jimmy Waldo. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So now Blackthorne. For people that may not know, was yourself, Graham Bonnet, Bob Kulick, Chuck Wright, and Frankie Banali. Now,
That's correct. That's correct.
Afterlife came out in 93, so you and Graham already had a long history. But how'd the rest of the band come together?
I met Bob in 1978 in New York. We both lived in New York, and we just hit it off and talked about writing some songs and stuff. And then I went on the road with New England. I was really busy with New England, so he and I didn't get to hook up for a while. I moved to LA after New England. Bob had moved to LA, so we reconnected in LA. And I didn't even know he was living there at the time. And we just said, okay, we gotta get serious about this. Let's do a band. So needed a singer, obviously. So Graham had contacted me and really wanted to come back from Australia. He was like not happy in Australia. So we arranged that, got him over to LA from Australia, and Frankie Banali and Chuck Wright were obvious choices.
Fire Riot, yeah.
Yeah. I had played with Frankie in Quiet Riot and Chuck as well and some other things. So those guys, amazing rhythm section and some of my favorite players ever. So Bob and I were writing, putting a lot of material together. With a few outside people. So we finally kind of locked in on what songs we were going to do and went into a rehearsal place and rehearsed the material, old school. And this was recorded on tape, 2-inch tape, and went in the studio and cut the stuff. And it was pretty straight ahead, really. Frankie and Chuck, I mean, as a rhythm section, those guys are like a machine. Chuck knows what Frankie's going to play, and they play together so much.
Yeah. And now, when you went into the studio, was it Bruce Kulick that produced the record originally?
No,
Oh.
it was Bob.
Oh.
Bob and I did it together,
Oh.
but Bob is more of the keep the session running really good. Very musical guy, obviously, but. So no, it was just Bob and I.
Okay.
Bruce, we had worked with Bruce. Bruce had co-written one of the songs on there, or a couple of the songs actually. Most notably, "We Won't Be Forgotten" was Bruce and Bob and Paul Taylor, from Winger, wrote that one.
So, I mean, Afterlife, when it came out, the people that heard it loved it. But kind of looking back, I mean, as you guys were writing it and putting it together, things changed so rapidly in those couple of years. I mean, did you have any ideas you were putting it together, what was coming, and that grunge was kind of overtake all the hard rock bands?
Well, we didn't know, but we sure had a bad feeling about it. As we were writing and putting that together, some of the writers that we worked with and friends of ours were saying, man, you guys are behind here. This is the grunge thing is happening now. And we knew some label people, and we were in touch with them just as friends. And they said the same thing. They said, we played them what we were doing, and they said, God, it's great, but it's really a grunge world out there. So, and we were not that, and we didn't try to be. We could have changed gears and started writing some songs some different kind of songs, but that's just not who we were.
Mhm.
Bob and I were not those kind of writers or players. We just thought, you know what, we'll stick to our guns.
Mhm.
And obviously, as a keyboard player, grunge, there are no keyboards in grunge. I mean, so we didn't worry about it. We just kind of forged ahead, and we really thought good songs, great record. We'll get a deal here in the States. We had a deal in Japan on Polydor, a really good deal, and that money they gave us helped pay for the record, to make the record. But we really thought we would get a deal in the States, which didn't happen. Couldn't get arrested here in the States at all.
But even after the first record came out, and again, everyone that heard it loved it, because there were still people seeking that kind of music.
Yeah.
I was one of them. The second record, Don't Kill the Thrill, it's just as strong a record, but things were over by then. It never got released. What was the story with that?
We were writing songs and just cutting song demos, basically. A lot of which we cut at my little studio in LA. And, Bob would bring a 100-watt Marshall over, and that's the way we recorded in my little room in my condo. And the neighbors probably hated me. But we were just songwriting demos, and we worked hard on them and finished them as tried to make it as close to a master, at least with the arrangement and the performances. We wanted to really know what we had. Mm-hmm. Bob and I were both like, it wasn't good enough just to put down a quick demo and then think you're going to go in the studio and cut that. Mm-hmm. So those demos, we tried to make them pretty complete as far as these are the guitar parts, these are the keyboard parts, vocal melodies, lyrics. We really tried to nail that. And some of those songs were written by outside people, so the lyrics and melodies were done. Mm-hmm. So we didn't really have to worry about that. It was mostly, just getting our performances together and getting ready to go in and cut those. And then things fell apart.
And now, over the years, Afterlife sort of had its cult following, and then, eventually, a couple of years back, Don't Kill the Thrill was finally out. But why do you think now is the right time to kind of put these together and get all of that unreleased material and demo stuff and put it out again?
Well, our manager, Giles Lavery, who manages Alcatrazz, was at my house in LA a few years ago, and I was really preparing to move. I live in Chicago now. Mm-hmm. So I was preparing to move to Chicago. So I was in the garage, throwing stuff away and cleaning stuff. Giles was helping me, and he saw this box, and he goes, "Wow, what are all these tapes?" And I said, "Oh, I know, a bunch of demos and stuff." And he started picking through them, and it said Blackthorne, and 91 songwriting thing, and 92, and Giles is going, "What are you kidding?" He said, "There's all kinds of stuff in here." And there were 16-track tapes, which were, pretty good quality. And so Giles started going through them and he did really all the dirty work. Mm-hmm. And I would be working on the side in my studio, and Giles was there in headphones on a DAT player, cassette player. And he would say, "Okay, what's this?" And he would let me listen to it, and I'd go, "Oh yeah, that's the song we did with blah, blah, blah," and so that's where I had those tapes. I save everything. Mm-hmm. And I had those tapes for years. Mm-hmm. And we got them, the 16-track stuff had to be baked before it was transferred. And the cassettes, we even baked some of the cassettes, because the transfer guy that I use in LA is really anal about that. He won't transfer an old tape without baking for. He didn't want to be responsible for ruining it, so give it the best shot. So that's what we did, and we put a lot of money into doing that because we just wanted. I was like excited about it because here's all this material that I'd done that was involved in, and Bob. And he was really excited about it at the time. And so we thought, this is so cool. We'll get all this stuff together. And then Giles was like, "Yeah, and let's see if we can get a deal for it." and there's no money up front in getting record deals these days. So it really wasn't about the money. It was about wanting to put it out and reissue Afterlife so people could get somebody that wasn't real familiar with Blackthorne or Afterlife could get the whole picture.
Right.
You can look at that and the dates are there and you really get a sense of what the band did and what we were capable of and the people involved and the whole thing. So that was the idea. It was just like a really fun project and to get it out there, so people could hear it.
And now let's look back a bit through your career. We mentioned New England. Now, I'm here in Connecticut, so New England was always a legendary band around these parts.
Yeah, cool.
But so after that, Alcatrazz. Now, Graham was coming out of Rainbow and his solo career. You had New England, you and Gary. How did you guys all hook up together with Graham?
Graham's manager was looking to put a band together. And so Andy Truman was Graham's manager. Andy Truman's son, Paul Truman, I think Paul might have been 13 at the time or something, and he was pretty young, but he was playing guitar a little bit, and it was kind of had a band, was trying to have a band, and he was a real serious music fan. So he knew about New England. So through Paul Truman, he got hold of Gary and I, and Andy said, yeah, I want to put a band together. So let's put a band together. So we got together with Graham, threw some song ideas around, and away we went. We started auditioning guitar players and drummers, and ended up with Yngwie and Jan Uvina as a drummer. Went through quite a few drummers actually before we ended up with him.
And it's funny you mentioned going through quite a few drummers. A month or two back, I actually interviewed Yngwie, and he was telling me the story of his first rehearsal with Alcatrazz. He walked in, the first thing he said was, "You got to fire the drummer," and made the band fire the drummer, and that led to Jan coming in. True story? And remember who the drummer was that he fired?
Well, nobody was fired. I know what Yngwie's talking about, and it's just, and I won't mention any names, but the drummer wasn't working out at all. So Yngwie and I and Gary were in unison about we were like, yeah, this is not happening. He's got to go. We got to get somebody else. So, and we did. We had feelers out there looking for people, and Jan's name had come up. We had a phone number, so we called him, and he came down. I think the next day, he came down and played, and it was perfect. We were like, yep, that's the guy. So that's kind of the way that went down. Yeah, but Yngwie and I and Gary, we were frustrated, at not being able to find a guy, because we had a couple of really hot prospects that we thought were going to be great, and they just turned out to not be so great.
Well, including Clive Burr, who went on to Iron Maiden.
Yeah, and Clive, what a cool guy, and a great drummer. It was just stylistically, that just didn't fit. That was the weirdest thing. Usually, a drummer comes in and he kind of gets a feel for your music, and he can sort of, morph to, or whatever you want to look at it. Usually, if it's in the same vein. Clive wasn't that guy, though. Clive, great chops, great drummer, and a fantastic person, but it just didn't gel. It just wasn't happening.
Yeah, that happens.
We auditioned Ainsley Dunbar, and Ainsley was an amazing drummer. But that wasn't going to work either. So what a question of his drumming, really. Business reasons and other reasons, that just wasn't going to work. So he didn't really want to be in a band. He just wanted to do a record, like a session. And we really wanted a band member. So that's why we just kept auditioning guys. So when we auditioned Yngwie, I want to say that was the drummer from Robin Trower. Had played with Robin Trower. That's horrible. I can't think of his name. Great drummer. But that really wasn't working either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's surprising. We thought, oh, this guy with this name, he's going to come in, all this is going to blow us away, and it just wasn't right.
Yeah.
So.
With your playing, the one thing that always caught my ear with your playing is that you fit seamlessly in with all of these amazing guitar players that you've worked with over the years. And I think a lot of times you sound almost more like a second guitar player than a traditional keyboard player, which fits the music perfectly. I mean, did you ever, want to just bust out, kind of do the John Lord, keyboard as the lead instrument? Or did you see the value of the layers that your keyboards brought to the music?
I never really thought too much about it, to be honest, but I did see the value of, it's a band. So you can't have, when Yngwie got in the band, it was obvious that Yngwie is going to be the guy. I mean, people are going to look at that. It's a guitar world out there, and I know that, and I've known that for a long time. So, and I loved Yngwie's playing, and still do. So it was like, don't try to be. And I'm not like a chopsy kind of guy anyway. I'm more of a band player, parts that work, rhythm guitar player kind of thing. So I was always happy with that. I never had problems with that. And I do solos here and there, but and I try to play melodic lines and parts that support the song. And in doing that, invariably, it's like the guitar player is doing something similar, like with Joe Stump and Alcatrazz. That's what happens. Joe will play a line, and that's part of his chords in the song, and I'll pick up on that. But I'll do something a little different, or that is counter to that, that complements his line. So just to make it a little harmonically a little bit more, a little fuller and stuff like that. But the keyboards don't have to be real loud in a mix to do that. As long as that musical note is there and you're doing something that makes a nice harmony, that works, and that's fine. So yeah, I'm happy with being where I'm at. I like doing what I'm doing. I don't.
You play to the song, which is
what
makes it listenable.
That's the way I grew up that way. It was all about the song. And I worked in the beginning working with really old school songwriters and producers, and knowing some pretty heavy musicians in the day. It was always the song. Nowadays, of course, everybody likes shredders. Everybody likes guitar player, keyboard player, bass player, drummer, whatever, that can shred. That's not me. So, but that's just, I do what I do, and that's it.
And you mentioned Joe Stump, current guitar player in Alcatrazz. In 2020, you guys put out Born Innocent, which is a really strong record. And then Graham left, and there's a little confusion now with Alcatrazz, and you guys have Doogie White, who I also just spoke to not that long ago. Vocals now, and Graham has his version of Graham Bonnet's Alcatrazz, and Doogie kind of shared his perspective on taking over, considering how he and Graham are good friends. But from a founding band member's perspective, how did you see Graham's exit and Doogie coming in?
Well, this happens in bands. I mean, this is nothing unusual. Some people, it seems like a big deal to some people, and but these things happen. And so it wasn't working. Graham wasn't happy and where he was. So it was just kind of natural that he wanted to go off and do something different. And Doogie was the obvious choice for us. I knew Doogie. We'd met Doogie before. I'd seen him play, seen him sing, loved his records that he made with Rainbow and Shanker and his own solo stuff. So it was kind of a very natural choice to see if we could work with Doogie. And it worked out fantastic.
And
so...
And I know you guys have released a couple of tracks. Any update on when the whole record will be out?
Yeah, October 15th.
Great.
It hits the street.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be,
And kind of circling back to Blackthorne, it's been a rough couple of years. We lost both Bob and Frankie in the past few years. Have you, Chuck and Graham, talked about doing anything to sort of commemorate this release, or is it we're just going to put it out there?
No, we're just going to put it out. Yeah, Graham's got his stuff going on, and Chuck's busy. And I'm busy with Alcatrazz. I mean, that's my main focus. So wouldn't be any time to do anything anyway. And the truth is, we tried to tour in the day. Blackthorne tried to do gigs in the day, and we couldn't get. We played a few shows in California, but nobody showed up. Booking agents didn't want to book us. They were like, "Hey guys, you know, the grunge," and they said it. They just said, "It's a grunge world out there. You're not a grunge band. I can't book you."
Yeah.
So to try to rekindle something now wouldn't make sense. I just like to leave it on a high note, so to speak. That I really like the record, and I like all those songs, and I'm proud of all that, and leave it at that kind of thing.
Well, we've been spending some time here with Jimmy Waldo, best known for his work in Alcatrazz, and as you just mentioned, they'll have a new record coming out in mid-October. But talking about the great lost Blackthorne music, it's out everywhere. It's a combination of the two records, Afterlife and Don't Kill the Thrill, with a host of demo and unreleased stuff. And again, if you're a fan of any of these guys, or you just love old school hard rock, definitely recommend taking a listen to this, because it's really good stuff. And Jimmy, it's been fantastic getting to talk to you and getting a history lesson on all of this.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate your time.
And hopefully we can catch you on the road with Alcatrazz when the record's out and things clear up and you guys hit the East Coast here.
Right. Yeah, it's possible. We haven't done well in the U.S. up to this point, but we play mostly in Europe and the UK, but we certainly plan to play here, to tour here. So you'll see us. We'll see you.
Sounds good, my friend. Thank you so much for the time, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff.